Today we're going to talk about comparing fractions. And the method that we've been using is comparing fractions to benchmark fractions using a number line to kind of place the fractions, and then comparing fractions to decide which one is bigger and kind of where they go within the range on the number line. So let's say we had these fractions. Let's say we had 3/6, 2/10, 5/8, and 1/3. And we wanted to order those from least to greatest, and we wanted to place them on a number line as well. First thing I would do if I didn't have a number line is to draw a number line. I'd go ahead and I'd put a 0 and I'd put a 1. And then I've told the kids, go ahead and find the point that's about halfway and just go ahead and mark a half. And then halfway between 0 and 1/2, go ahead and divide it into fourths. And then halfway between half and 1, go ahead and put 3/4. So you've got those benchmark fractions to kind of help you. And then the next step is look at the fractions that we've been given, and let's go ahead and sort those into buckets, the greater than 1/2 bucket and the less than 1/2 bucket, to kind of narrow down the number that we have to compare individually. And so I just go kind of from left to right. 3/6, well, that is 1/2. That makes my job a little easier. I'm just going to write it on there. I'm going to cross it out. We're done. 2/10, where would that fall? Would that be bigger than 1/2 or less than 1/2? Well, I know that looking at the denominator, which is kind of the method that I use in sorting these, 1/2 of 10 is 5, and 2 is less than 5. So I know 2/10 is going to be over on this side somewhere. If need be, if I don't know whether 2/10 is greater or less than 1/2, I can come down here and I can go ahead and do a quick comparison. 2/10, 1/2. I can cross multiply, which is what we've been doing. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is, or 2 times 2 is 4. 10 is greater than 4, so 1/2 is greater than 2/10. So we do a lot of cross multiplying to check. So we know 2/10. 5/8, I'm going to use that same method. Looking at 8, 1/2 of 8 is 4. 5 is greater than 4. So I know 5/8 is going to be on this side. Again, I could compare 5/8 to 1/2 using cross multiplying if I needed to do that. And then I'm going to look at 1/3. And just in what we've talked about with fractions, we've talked about if you have the same number as a numerator, in looking at the denominator, then the bigger the number on the bottom, the bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction, because you're dividing it into more pieces. So I know 1/3 is here. Again, though, if I can't remember that rule, I can take 1/3, I can cross multiply and compare it to 1/2. So in looking at these now, I need to place 2/10 and 1/3 in relation to 1/4. I'm just going to go and I'm just going to compare fractions by cross multiplying. Like I said, we're going to do a lot of cross multiplying. So I'm going to take 2/10. I'm going to take 1/4, and I'm going to cross multiply. 10 times 1 is 10. 4 times 2 is 8. So 1/4 is greater than 2/10. So 2/10 now is going to be somewhere over in this vicinity. I'm going to check 1/3 because it may end up being there as well. And let's see, 1/3 compared to 1/4, cross multiply, that's 3, that's 4. 1/3 is greater than 1/4, so I'm lucky. 1/3 is going to be somewhere over in here. 2/10 is going to be here. So now I've got those two placed on the number line in relation to 1/4 and 3/6. And then 5/8, I just need to decide, is it greater than 3/4 or less than 3/4? So I'm going to just cross multiply. 8 times 4 is 24. That is 20. 24 is greater than 20. So 3/4 is greater than 5/8. So I'm going to put 5/8 down here. And so now I've placed everything on the number line. And if I just want to write them in order from least to greatest, I have 2/10. I have 1/3. I have 3/6. Don't want to forget about that one. And then I have 5/8. So I've ordered them from least to greatest. I use a number line, I use benchmark fractions, and I do a lot of comparing fractions with cross multiplying to decide which is greater. And that's kind of the approach that we've talked about taking in class. You can always try and find common denominators, but I found that can be a bit confusing, so we just do a lot of benchmark fractions and comparing fractions. Hope this helps.